All right, welcome back everyone to week 5 of the weekly workshop for Qlik Cloud, brought to you by the Arc Academy for Qlik. Today we're going to be talking about sharing and collaborating inside of Qlik Cloud. Last week we talked about making those selections inside your data, understanding the data model, green, white, gray review, and things like that. This week we're going to talk about how to share and collaborate those insights to people inside the organization in a governed, restricted way, so that you're sharing the right insights with the right context as well. So let's jump into it. Sharing and collaboration, why, how, and when. So why do we share our data? So we're sharing these data insights when we're navigating through something. You find a bookmark, you want to pass it over to your manager to review the finding for later. And most of the time, people are sending screenshots or static reports or downloading things. So the why here is that we're doing it inside of Qlik, preferably. And then for those use cases that you need to push it outside of Qlik, we'll cover that at the end. How? We'll talk about this with Qlik Cloud. There's several new ways to share. You still have all the great features you know and love between the bookmarks, the exporting, the PDFs, but now you can interact with things through Teams. You can build the reports. You can have an Excel add-in. There's a lot more functionality here of how to actually interact with this data and share it within the organization to other people. And then when to use the right feature for the right time. So there's going to be different ways to share this data, whether you're doing this on a regular basis, whether you're doing this on thresholds for an interval that's, KPIs crossing that quarter, or certain ways for governance about how people can now request access and things like that. Whereas before, you just got an access denied message in Qlik Sense. So Qlik Cloud has a lot of great things. And we're going to talk about why, how, and when to use these things. Talking more about that specifically, these are the feature sets that have now been upgraded into Qlik Cloud. We can see we still have our same 4 features. These are called, call these the core 4. And then really we've expanded and added quite a few here with having alerts and subscriptions, report builder, and things like that. So we'll talk about these a little bit at a high level, and then we'll be making videos breaking each one of these out in detail as we go over them. Here's a high-level view of a high-level description of kind of when you would use these things for a different use case. And, I won't go through all of these specifically because I'll leave this here as a resource in the school channel. But really, there's different use cases for different feature sets. If you want to have an Excel export that you have to go in and actually fire yourself, you still have that capability to do that. Whatever selections you make can drill down. That has its own purpose. Whereas the Excel add-in is actually a feature that allows you to go to Excel, connect to your account, your Qlik Cloud account, and then you can access measures and dimensions and applications and data model components right from Excel and actually build that report. So there's a lot of new features here and functionality that you get with Qlik Cloud, and we'll talk about all of these things here one by one. And the last thing I want to touch on is that now as we go into Qlik Cloud and we talk about making these selections, talk about sharing these insights, next week we'll get into modeling. And I want to reiterate this, that the big push with Qlik Cloud right now is that previously it was understood that as you're interacting with your data in Qlik Sense, you're consuming the data. The data has to come to you're going to it to get these insights, and you're going to make the selections, and you have to go log in. Now there's really this big emphasis on acting on that data. And what we're going to show you today, between subscriptions, the alert thresholds, sending emails, really creating this report suite, all of these things that bring the data to you so that you can act on it. You're no longer having to go get to it. You don't have to go get your mail from the mailbox anymore. Your mail is now coming to you. Your email opens up and it's right there at your doorstep. So I just want to emphasize that. That's really the big push here with Qlik Cloud. And let's jump into it.
Okay, so the first thing we can look at is storytelling. So this is a feature that's essentially a presentation layer within Qlik. So you don't have to use PowerPoint separately to put your charts and text and arrows and images together. What you can do is build it here in Qlik. You can always export it to PowerPoint after you create it, but essentially we can add snapshots of our charts into a presentation layer. So we can add a title and we can just drag that in just like that. We can say this is my report or whatever. I can go back to the sheet view where I have my actual dashboard and all my charts in here. And let's say I want to include this chart with this selection in a presentation that I'm going to show like to in a meeting to managers or whatever. All I need to do is right click and go to storytelling, and I can take a snapshot, and then I can just say line chart since 2018, right? I can hit save, and then I can go back to storytelling mode. And then from my snapshot view, I have that line chart. So I can drag that in. I can see it's that exact snapshot. I can resize it as needed. I can also add images, little arrow icons, little things like that. Whatever I need to tell the story of what this data is, what it means, why it's relevant. I can add text and labels, things like that. So this is all pretty basic. It's, you don't get like animations and things like that, but it's sort of just a simple way to embed your Qlik charts into a basic report or presentation that you can do slide by slide, just like you would in PowerPoint. But since these are embedded, I can actually jump to this chart, right? So I can replace it, I can edit it, or if I play this, so to speak, I can hover over and I can see things as it is in the chart. And then I can even right click and hit go to source. And then it takes me directly to that chart live in my dashboard. So it's all integrated. Now, the next thing I'm going to show is how you can export sort of a snapshot of a given chart or a given sheet or dashboard as a PDF. This is sort of a legacy way of doing things, is having a report in a PDF, because obviously it's static. It is more portable because you can send it around or email it, but you're just getting essentially a screenshot. But, in some cases you might need to do that or quickly show someone something that doesn't have access to your Qlik environment. You can do that very easily just by right clicking, right? So let's go down to the same chart we looked at in our previous example. And I'm going to right click on it just like that. And then at the bottom, you see this download button in the menu. I'm going to click on that. It gives me a few options, and I'll click on PDF, which is that third tab there. It'll show me a little preview of what this is going to look like in my PDF, which I can make either landscape or portrait mode. And I also have options to choose the fill, fit to page, or do like a fixed size, like by height and width. And then once the image is generated here, the preview, I have the option of changing my settings, or I can go ahead and hit download, and that is going to download this PDF to my computer. Now, our other option for grabbing a PDF is to grab a PDF of not one chart, but the entire dashboard, right? So if I scroll up here and I click on the three dots up at the top of my dashboard here, what I can do is I can click on download sheet as PDF. So that does exactly what we need it to do. And then once it's previewed, we can go ahead and hit download just as before, and allows you to save it to your computer, and then you can share it out the way you would otherwise. Now what we can look at is exporting to an Excel file. So same principles as the PDF. Having these files is nice because you can share them out and look at them outside of Qlik, but you do lose some of the interactivity that you get within Qlik. But there's always a use case for it, and so Qlik does give you an option to do that. Now, something to keep in mind with exporting to an Excel file, a PDF, an image, whatever, is that Qlik will keep the selections that you've made, right? So let's, for example, look at this chart here, which is looking at crimes and crime categories. So if I click on just a selection of these right here, and I click confirm, I hone in on that specific selection in my data, let's say I want to export this as an Excel file. So as an Excel file, we're not going to get the chart, like the image. We're going to get the data that sort of makes up this image here, this chart. So all I need to do is, just like before with the PDF, I'm going to right click on this chart. I'm going to click on download. And then in that first tab there that it has selected, it says data. And as we can see, it's going to download this visualization as an XLSX file, an Excel file. So all I need to do is hit download. Then I can save this. And then once I open up my Excel file, it's nothing pretty, but it gives me my data that is behind that chart. And now I can do with it whatever I want within Excel, share it out, what have you. Now, one of the features that has been in Qlik for a long time and is also included in Qlik Cloud is the bookmarks feature. This allows users to make selections in whatever sheet that they're in, and then they can set a bookmark that will remember those sets of selections and whatever sheet you are on. This is really nice for being able to come back to maybe the same selections on like a regular basis. So for example, let's look at this map here. Let's zoom in on this map. Let's say that I'm in charge of kind of managing this area in the map, right? So what I might want to do is I'm going to draw a little selection around my, the area I care about. And let's say I always want to come in every day and I care about the data that's in this area or these cases in this area. So what I can do after I make that selection, I'm going to come up to bookmarks up at the top left, which might be under assets as well, depending on how it's set up. And either way, you have a little bookmarks icon there to get to it. And then I can hit create new bookmark, right? So I'll click on that and I'll set my daily cases bookmark. All right, and then I can set save sheet location. I can make sure that's checked to make it so that if I'm on a different page and I click this bookmark, it'll not only go back to this selection that I made, but it'll also take me back to this page. All right, so I'll go ahead and hit create. And then it shows up here on the left, my daily cases bookmark. So just to test it out, if I clear my selections, I go to a completely different sheet. And then I'm ready to go back to that bookmark. I'll go to my bookmarks. I'll find my bookmark here and I'll just click it once. And in a matter of moments, it's going to apply that selection and it's going to take me back to the original sheet. And now I'm back to looking at those cases in my area on this page. Another nice feature of bookmarks is the fact that you can publish them so that other folks using this app can also see that bookmark. So if I have a team of people that care about these cases, I can click on the three dots on my bookmark and I can go ahead and hit make public. So now that I've made it public, other folks that use this application can also see that bookmark and use it just the same way as I did. An even further feature that you can use is the link option. So I can go to the options for that bookmark, copy the link, and then as long as other folks have access to this application, I can share the link with them and it'll take them to this page and apply these same selections.
And just to highlight on that, another, what the problem that this solves in an organization is that someone says, send me that report after lunch. What you're doing now is you're sending them, you're now just going back in the chat and you're saying, oh, actually, I already have a bookmark for it. It's published. Go check it out. You're not waiting for data to close out and then publishing and then sharing it in an email or sending the link. Then the actions are already there. Everything is already live. The person is just going in to access that data. And this is the same with Qlik Sense and Qlik Cloud, but we're about to jump into some more Qlik Cloud specific features here.
That's right. It's also a nice way of being able to go down one set of filters or analysis. And then if you want to go back to it later, after changing up all of your selections and looking at different things, it's not like you have to write down what you selected or what you clicked on. All you need to do is bookmark it, and then you can always go back and then share it further with other people. So another feature that is in Qlik Cloud that has not made it down to the older versions of Qlik is the notes feature. And so this allows you to embed notes within an app that you can use to collaborate with other folks, either developing the app or using it for analysis for other business users. And all you need to do is right-click on a chart and then start typing notes. So all I would need to do is right-click on a given chart. There's a notes option right here. I can find any notes that also use that chart, or I can create a new one. So I can create that new note. It'll show up on the left-hand side of my screen. And then it'll actually embed a snapshot of that chart that I'm talking about. And then I can start making notes and even tagging other people. This looks off. Let's discuss soon. And then I can tag other people in my organization so that we can talk about it later and discuss it further. Now, another feature that is sorely missed in older versions of Qlik, but that we do have available in Qlik Cloud, is alerts and alerting. So this is when certain aspects of your data meets a condition, you get an alert, right? So it's pretty simple to do. Like most of these options, you get to it by right-clicking on a chart and going from there from that menu. So right-clicking on this chart, I can see alerts. I can hit Create New Alert, and then I can give it a title, a description, and then I can choose what part of this chart am I looking at. In this case, I'm looking at the measure that is called crimes, just the number of crimes, and also this dimension, which goes from year to month to week. I can also further modify my selections here, but I'll keep it as is. If I go to the next page, I then choose what condition. When do I get an alert based off of the data in this chart? So I could say when crimes are greater than, some arbitrary value, right? And so if this triggers, then I will get an alert, all right? So this is a really powerful feature that allows you to be proactive with your data rather than waiting for you or someone else on your team to open up the app, every morning, go look at the data, understand it, analyze it, and then come to this conclusion. You actually get an alert the moment that Qlik sees this happen. And then from there, you get it in your inbox and you can action it. So another feature that comes out of the box in Qlik Cloud is being able to subscribe to charts or dashboards. So basically, this allows you to, rather than getting a report or an alert when data changes, this is just something that you get on a regular basis, right? So every day, every morning, every week, once a quarter, whatever it is, you are subscribing at some frequency to get a chart or a report. And so the way to do this, like all the other things that you can do, is to right-click on a chart, and then you can hit subscribe. And this will show you a list of options for what format to receive it in, whether to include the selections that you've made when you right-clicked and hit that button. And then you can choose when to get this email, daily, weekly, monthly, what have you, and also at what time of day. Then you can preview it, you can hit subscribe, and you can do this for any number of charts, any number of reports within Qlik. Now, in previous versions of Qlik, you needed to use a separate product to create reports. In Qlik Cloud, it comes out of the box. You get a full report builder baked in. So all I need to do is, up at my top screen here, I'm going to click on Sheet, and I'm going to go down to Reporting. And this is going to bring up a number of options for who gets my reports, that's recipients and groups, how it gets filtered, if I filter on county or on year or month, and then how it gets distributed. That could be email, that could be down to SharePoint, what have you. So beyond that, you can actually create a report directly within Qlik Cloud. And this allows you to drag in your fields, your charts, your variables, and you can design it essentially like using Microsoft Publisher or Microsoft Word. You put things where you want them to be. You put in placeholders for the values in your columns and all of your tables, and then Qlik will fill in those values when you generate the report. So it's a great way of being able to regularly get a PDF, a Word document, anything like that, and have it hit your inbox at a regular time. Now, while Qlik Cloud does have a built-in report editor, you can also use Excel to create these reports. And the way we do that is I pull up Excel, and what we have is an add-on feature designed by Qlik that allows you to connect to Qlik and then create reports directly in Excel. So you can see I'm already signed in. It pulls up this little area on the right side of my screen. And then I can choose where to go to grab my apps that I want to use in this report. So I might come down here to state and local government, which is that same demo we've been looking at. And then I can hit save. I can come over here and then I can start adding data from that app into this Excel file. Beyond the raw data, we can also pull in little clips of our charts so that we can show the actual visualization that we've created in Qlik. So for example, I can come down here, I can grab this line chart that we have in our app, and I can hit add, and that will add the snapshot of that chart into my Excel file. And then I can design everything else in Excel the way you normally would. Last feature we want to look at is how you can interact and share information through the Microsoft Teams integration. So what I'll do is I'll pull up Teams here, and basically we have a chat going with Qlik Cloud. So what I can do is I can look at Qlik Cloud and see what access I have through Microsoft Teams. Here's that same application we were looking at, and I can investigate what dimensions, what measures, what information we have within that application just by typing to Qlik Cloud or selecting these options here. And so I can look at crimes, I can look at various other measures that we have, and it will give me information about that just as if we were typing within Qlik itself.
Another interesting bit here is that the preset measures that it's suggesting here for you to explore are things that we've actually set up as master measures or things in the business glossary or data dictionary. This lets the Insight Advisor know that those things have a reference point, so that if you do ask it a random question, you can just say, show me the number of crimes. It's going to find that much easier if crimes is already a preset master measure than if you just have a sum of crime ID. So we asked a question here, how many crimes in Pinellas County in 2019? It took a second to get back to us, but it does go in and it evaluated the offense date correctly. Looks like it got January all the way through December. Looks like it plotted those out. It does look like it needs some tweaking. It got the row ID and things like that. So, that's where you can fine tune the different business elements and things like that inside the master measure or data dictionary. But overall, this is a really useful tool because when you're chatting, how many times a day do people live inside of Teams or their own chat messenger all day long? You're constantly doing so much work in here. It's just one more thing to bring the data to you without having to go log into Qlik. But you do still have the ability here where if you can click on this chart, Austin, launch this and show us how we can go directly into Qlik. So we have these options here, and you can take us right to that dashboard. So again, just another way of simplifying this collaboration process and sharing the insights within the organization so that you don't have to go get the data comes to you. Another thing I want to mention on all of these different ways of sharing your data and exploring it is that many of these methods are going to use up a different type of reload credit that you're not typically used to if you're on Qlik Sense. On Qlik Sense, you don't have to worry about how many reloads you're doing or how many exports or how many reports that you're running, but now you do. Now, depending on your tier, depending on your package, you will have to worry about, do you want reports? Do you want people to be able to subscribe to reports every single day for every single app? Because you're going to start getting dinged for those. And that's something to keep in mind, that it's essentially like it's like any other cloud credit bill. So, let's talk about it more in another video, and I think that's all we have.
Ultimately, there are a ton of ways of sharing your information, exporting it, and collaborating with other users around the data that you're trying to analyze in Qlik Cloud. There are a couple of legacy options, but Qlik Cloud really gives you a number of powerful features that we did not have before in previous versions of Qlik. And it gives you the full breadth of being able to share and analyze and collaborate at each step of the way.